I learned that directly contradict and are contrary to the things that I had learned that to be true growing up. Things I learned in Sunday school or even seminary. Just things that people believe to be true because they're just reading what's on the page instead of what's in the page and behind the page.
Okay, so do you consider truth like the highest virtue that we should try to is truth above all else? So essentially, if something is true, we should strive for that, and anything else that falls by the wayside as collateral in the pursuit of truth is all fair game, because truth is the ultimate thing to achieve. Is that your take?
No, I wouldn't say that the pursuit of truth should be like the major prevalence or in anything. I think that that wellness of life and human flourishing, humans living good lives is prevalent. For the most part, I think that pursuing truth is the best way to attain that. But that's
okay. What if I told you that Christianity and theism was responsible for more human flourishing, well-being, and prospering than any other thing in human history? Would you still feel good about the fact that you're devoting a personal brand to going after individuals who, whether or not they might be incorrect in how they're justifying certain beliefs they had about what happened 2,000 years ago, are living happy and productive lives? What are you doing that is actually contributing to the overall net well-being of these people in the world?
Look, faith has nothing to do with the ability to contribute to the progression of mankind or the betterment of humanity. All you can do is point me to these people who identify as Christians or identify as theists. But as you know, correlation does not equal causation. They don't come up with these things because they're Christian. In fact, there's a lot of evidence of Christianity actually infringing upon the progression of science, but I wouldn't contribute that to their faith.
So even though
you can take credit for
okay, so all of the advancements that have happened since the era of Christ, you would say are not related to the Abrahamic religions at all?
Not directly, no, indirectly, yes.
Okay, I mean, at that point, nothing's related to anything, I would say, because, obviously...
Sure. There's always causal relations.
Well, if you think the Jesuit tradition...
Hey, guys, hang on. Before we have a secondary debate, let's take a quick time out, and I think Ogre 343 was next, so go ahead and share your thoughts. What do you think about the debate? What was the most interesting part for you, and to share your overall impressions?
Yeah, I only sadly stayed for half of the debate. Mr. Batman, is that what his name was? We kept going on and on to the same point. We all saw that, Jim. You were very exacerbated by that. I can say kudos for keeping you cool. That stuff's I've been in those conversations, right? That stuff's very annoying. And I kind of wish the debate would have been more on topic, but say la vie, it's the way this stuff goes to the internet. So that's my piece.
Same here, man. Thank you.
Ron, I appreciate it. All right, Amy Newman, you were up next. What are your thoughts? I know you were watching it, and I know you have some thoughts on this topic, so go ahead. Your floor is yours.
Definitely, and I'm very biased, so Jim, I thought you did an awesome job. I actually respect you for not taking the bait. I feel sometimes when people don't have a really good solution and they're figuring that out for themselves in real time, they're like, ooh, this does not work, and I need to go for something that I'm much more comfortable at. I think Mr. Batman likes morality. I think that's like his comfortable spot, and as soon as he felt tension, that's where he went, that's where he stuck. But I congratulate you for not taking the bait.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, I think Brenda, you are up next. Go ahead and share your thoughts on the debate.
Oh, I thought it was...
Did you say debate or the bait?
I said debate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a typical Mr. Batman debate. He's incapable of actually debating or conversing with anybody on anything. It was just a horrible example of his kind of approach to apologetics. But I wanted to ask Jim, if I can at this point, ask him a question about the flood.
Yeah. Hey, Brenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
one question, keep it short, and we'll get Joshua, and then we'll get things a little bit more back to
Well, maybe
dialogue.
I'll just table that for later then.
You can go and ask the question, but then let's
Oh.
keep the responses back.
Oh,
relatively
okay.
short.
Well, there's a number of scholars who are saying that the flood was a local and contained, I don't know the exact area that it was contained to, but they claim that there was a flood some time ago that
Right.
did happen, but it was a local flood within a particular area of the Middle East. And I was wondering if you believe that and whether or not you think it affects any arguments for or against the flood.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's some foundation for the those ancient Near Eastern mythologies, and yeah, they are centralized around actual floods. You're looking at civilizations that were built and localized around water sources, and the Tigris River in Mesopotamia flooded very frequently, and whenever it rained, it poured, and that's what they used for their irrigation. So the irrigation canals and everything would flood. Everything that they would have would get completely wiped away by these huge monsoons, just these huge downpours that would cause just torrential flooding, killing cattle, people, wiping away their houses and everything. But yeah, it was local. Definitely didn't cover the top of the highest mountain, but this was their way of using a historical event passed through oral tradition, using that to just kind of building on it and mythologizing it to try to portray the consequences of sin. Just saying that it was because God was angry with you. I mean, as you know, back then in the Bronze Age, that was the thinking. If something good happened to you, it's because God's rewarding you for being good. If something shitty happened to you, it's because God was punishing you for sucking.
Got it. All right, Joshua, you are up next, man. Share your thoughts. What did you think about the debate tonight? And I guess if Jim's open to, you can ask him a question, but let's keep it short and pithy.
I just thought it was a shame that I feel like there's some things that really could be discussed regarding the flood. Some interesting academic discussions that could be had. Brenda's question led to really related to a lot of what I was thinking about with Utnapishtim and Trahasis and some of those other ancient Near Eastern flood myths. And I think it's pretty clear that the biblical narrative is a redaction of a couple of different traditions in ancient Israelite oral history. And it's a shame that somebody like Mr. Batman was championing the biblical account, because there was no discussion about what the biblical account truly is.
Sure.
And I felt like there's no representation of a true biblical understanding of the flood, because you just had this idiot talking about it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's hard to get a true representation because there isn't one. I mean, while it is an original creation, it's an original creation that heavily relies on earlier traditions. It's hard to find any originality in it. But yeah, I don't think he did a very good job of defending the historicity of it. I actually think it's better to use those ancient Near Eastern flood narratives if you're going to argue for the historicity of the flood, because it's just a damn good argument.
Well, I'm sorry to go in again, but there is no historical evidence of a global flood, because it is impossible.
Right.
It didn't happen. But if we look at it like an oral history, and consider the biblical narrative for what it really is, as an attempt from this ancient Near Eastern Israelite community to make sense of early Ugaritic or Canaanitic mythology, bring it into their scope, right, and make sense of it within a monotheistic religion, then you have something to talk about.
Yep.
But if you're just trying to talk about a global flood trying to make sure that it fits into some kind of reality when it doesn't. You throw the whole Bible away in an attempt to be literal about it, and it's a
That's
shame.
where inerrancy and infallibility doctrine get you.
Well, atheists love low-hanging fruit, so they typically only sign up for debates with people that want to defend, young Earth creationism or global flood, or they love to sort of pat themselves on the back for like debunking, these people as if it's like some sort of, it's among the most pathetic exercises in like intellect or rhetorical efficacy on the internet. It's absolutely pathetic. It's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, if part of your identity is that you're going online and you're debunking things like the biblical flood and young Earth creationism, reassess your goals, reassess your career, and stop like bullying otherwise people, like probably good Samaritans. It's really just fucked up, and it's sick to see people do this stuff on a.
Are you against proselytizing as well, like in general, just in all
Absolutely,
things?
yes. I'm 100% against proselytizing from any
Okay, I'll take it.
any dogma that tries to proselytize. I'm not going to say it's necessarily inherently wrong, but I would never do it. And I would say at the moment in which someone proselytizes to you, you have the right to fight back. But you obviously see these fucking atheists, smug atheists, that think they're honestly proving something by going into debates and invoking these. It's like congratulations, welcome to 1940. Like, you're really breaking ground here, man. Some guy, like, it's sad. Like, how about you contribute to the world, go back to school, take up a trade, invent something, do something useful. Debunking and trying to humiliate evangelicals on the internet is among the most pathetic ventures a person can embark on. So honestly,
that's not my goal.
I think we
reassess your life.
Hang on, everybody. We got before we go down into the inevitable madness of after shows. We've got somebody who has something going on in this debate. We got Praise I Am That I Am, who was guest modding because I think James has decided that getting his whole PhD thing is kind of important, so he's got to do some research.
That's guest mod.
Yeah, so he had to do that stuff. But Praise, what's up, man? How you doing? Thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think James. This goes to Jim. I think that he did. I don't think that Batman brought anything to the table. Like, he is always off topic. I had to multiple times correct him on that, but that's okay. I still love Batman. Like, he's not gonna lose his luster, or his credibility because he lost this debate. So I'll let people know that too. Oh, because he's a debate, then no. I mean, everyone loses a debate at some point, I believe. But I think Jim's held to the topic, so yeah, I give it to him. But there's one other point I want to make too, that Moses was not there, because I do believe he was the author of the Torah. So if he wasn't there, then it had to be some type of oral tradition going on there. So I don't believe in a worldwide flood anyway, and I don't even know why people have to. But if young Earth creationists want to do it, then you got to have a big burden of proof on your shoulders to demonstrate.
Well, and don't forget, it can also be based on written tradition. I mean, generally, most scholars believe that it was largely transmitted orally, but there's strong evidence that it was actually based on a written transmission as well.
Yeah.
I also don't get why one of his main sticking points was incest. That was driving me crazy.
Yeah, that was weird.
Well, I could go down the pedophilia route, but Noah.
Hang on, before we go down that route, folks, we got next up is Nicholas, proclaimer of the Messiah. What's up, man? What are your thoughts on the debate?
I love Mr. Batman, and yeah, that's all I have to say. I really just came in so it'd be more balanced between the Christians and non-Christians. It looked pretty outnumbered.
Do you think he fairly represents Christianity?
Well,
I love my theist brothers and sisters. I always say the same thing.
Okay.
Did he fairly represent what, Brenda?
That's not important. It's not a turn to talk yet. as I said in the beginning, folks, the don't be talking over folks. Right now, we're in the letting people give their opinion, and we've got Paul's about to come up next here in a second. But before I give you the floor, I want, if there's a Mark Reed or a few of the other little whiners in the audience that are always complaining that I don't let atheists on the after shows, which is complete BS. I hope the fact that obviously there are, and I'm letting them air their opinions. If we're actually having normal dialogue and questions and back and forth and discussion and sharing of opinions, then you're more than welcome. If you sit there and won't shut up, you talk over people and yell all the time, then I'm going to kick you out of the stream. Like, this is extraordinarily basic premise. The whole point is to have dialogue in an after show, but not necessarily to turn into a complete shit show. So let's just, as we go along the night, I know if it goes on a couple hours, we'll probably degenerate into madness, but at least for the initial time, let's keep it all kosher. So with that in mind, Paul, you're up next, man. Share your thoughts.
Yeah, cheers. Can you hear me all right? Because I'm driving. I'm just about to pull over, so I'll be in a lay-by. But can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're getting some background noise, but yeah, we can hear you okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just driving at the moment. I'm just going to pull into a lay-by. I'm actually at work. Yeah, I enjoyed the debate, but Mr. Batman, he always uses exactly the same argument. But my comment was going to be to Jim. You didn't take him on the morality thing that he kept with the paedophiles and stuff like that. You didn't take him on with that. And I know you were saying that you didn't feel that it was relevant to the argument, but I think you actually put up a good case to why it was relevant to the argument. What I would have said is the reason that I would say paedophilia is wrong is because it's harmful to the child.
Sure. No, I believe that it's wrong, but I don't see any reason to defend it. I honestly don't see why it's relevant. And if you do, I mean, honestly, I would love for a different perspective on that.
Yeah, and I just loved you to take him on with it, because the same argument would have been that we're a social animal, and for a social species to get along, you've got to cooperate with each other. Sure. Obviously, any harm that's done to that group is detriment to the whole group. So if you start off on that basis that you don't do each other harm, and then you can build from that, and that's where your morality comes from. Now, if we was a species that wasn't a social animal, like, for argument's sake, polar bears and other bears, they will not get on with each other unless it's basically a breeding season. So they will just kill each other for no reason whatsoever, apart from that they're in each other's vicinity. And also, a large male bear will kill the cubs to a female bear, so that, infanticide, so that he can then mate with her. They're not social animals. We are a social animal. So that's why we've got the level of morality that we've got, rather than him saying that you can't say that it's wrong to do this, that and the other because you've got no basis for a morality. Well, that is exactly where our basis for morality comes from, the fact that we are a social species. And then you just build from that.
Sure. Yeah. If I was debating that, if I was debating, the morality or immorality or the moral status of pedophilia, that'd be a great argument to make. But I was trying to get him to defend the historicity of Noah's flood, and I feel like that was just a deflection.
Yeah, I understand that, but he was not going to drop the topic, was he? It was as simple as that. That's basically what killed the rest of the debate. Yeah, once he realised that you were going to answer the question, he was not going to let that drop. It was as simple as that.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the debate anyway. But like I say, I'm at work, so thanks for letting me jump in. I can stop another minute if anyone has anything to say to me, and then I'll have to shoot off.
Okay, yeah, if anybody wants to dialogue back with Paul, let's do that, and then because he's going to drop off. And then, folks, I know a couple other people were trying to join a few minutes ago. We've got a couple slots right now, and then here in a few, Paul's going to drop off, so there'll be another slot. But anybody else that's currently in the stream want to have anything they want to respond to Paul on?
Yeah. Moral events have nothing to do with historical events. I mean, it was, if there was an earthquake in Japan today, it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not somebody has good or bad morals.
But what if it causes a tsunami that floods out the homosexuals in San Francisco?
Yeah, I don't have a quick reply to that one. I'll have to think about that.
Okay, well, I have a piece of clarity to offer on the topic of something that was being discussed with Paul, and that's Mr. Batman didn't say that pedophilia is immoral because it doesn't produce a natural result through sex or whatever. It's he said that's how we know it's not moral, and so I'm not saying that's a good thing to say. He should have stuck with the covenantal and said that it's because God decides it's not moral and that kind of thing.
Right.
But I do want to clarify though. He wasn't saying that that's the reason. He was saying that's how we know.
It's almost like he's saying that you got to try it out before you know.
Yeah, but what does it have to do with what the temperature was today? It was 60. It was 79 degrees here today. So what do those two things have to do with each other? Nothing.
Yeah, because basically he was arguing that the flood happened because of lack of morality on Earth, and so his argument was that was like why we had the flood. But to go back to what Nicholas was saying, you're saying that the reason that it's wrong is because God says that it's wrong. So if God says tomorrow that it's good, then that makes it good. I don't understand how you can have a morality, a good objective morality, if you're basing it on just what that book is telling you. So it's only wrong because that book tells you. Whereas me, I would say morality. That's basically what you just said.
Sounds relativistic.
It's so ambiguous.
Subjective.
Like you don't know what they're talking about, and they say he destroyed it because of wickedness. I feel like I made a good analogy when I said it's like saying that your dad went to prison for being bad. It's like, well, that doesn't tell me why he went to prison. Like it's so vague.
If I may respond to Paul,
Nicholas, go ahead and respond to Paul, and then I know Sunflower has a few things he wants to say as well. So go ahead, Nicholas, go ahead and respond, and then Sunflower, you get the floor next.
okay, then Paul, you said something about him. Oh, first it was only because God said so. So then there was the idea that God could have said different, and then it was because of the Bible. So I'm going to back up to the God one again because I'm not going with the Bible one because I trust the Bible because I trust Jesus. Jesus comes first. But yeah, so God has to be himself. He cannot tell a lie. So God is like, he's not like a human being. This is what I kind of learned this from something Brenda was saying, analytic logic. So this is like an analytic mistake. You're defining God wrong to say that he could have said otherwise. And most atheist arguments are based on just defining God wrong, to be honest.
Well, yes, I'm probably guilty of that. Yeah, I was using the Bible and God as two different, as the same thing. But basically, your morality comes from the teachings of religion, then, of the Christian religion. And what I was saying is your morality should come from basically start off with the basic of if it harms others or yourself, then it's wrong, and then you can build from that. And that's where I take my morality from. If something I wouldn't like being done to me, then obviously I can empathise with other people and think, well, they wouldn't like it done to them. And it's dead simple. But he was trying to argue that we didn't have a basic for where our morality comes from. And I think we have a very good answer to where our morality comes from. It benefits me, for me, not to try and kill you. Because if I try and kill you, my life isn't going to be that good neither. And if you're working as a team, like I say, as a species, as a group, what I was saying before, it's better for you all to work together than to be fighting against each other, because then you'll just end up being, well, you aren't going to get away with it, are you? It's working as a group, basically, is where morality comes from. But anyway, I'm going to have to jump out. If there's anyone else has anything else to say, I can give you like literally another minute, and that'll be it.
Yeah, I don't see how appealing to nature is valid.
The Jim's got to bounce out here in a few minutes, and I know that Sunflower had some things he wanted to ask. He's been waiting for a while. So Sunflower, the floor is yours, and everybody, Jim has got to leave soon, so let's, Sunflower, after your turn, anybody else wants to have a question for Jim, let's make it directly for him.
Sure,
and then, Go ahead, Sunflower.
Yeah, let me make myself clear. So, I don't think people realize what I'm saying here when I invoke the utility, the objective utility of theism. Look up Nobel Prize winners and their religious affiliation since 1901. Okay, now again, if you're only paying attention to the very very specific things that you're trying to attribute to how a religion has harmed society, it's very easy to say, well, nothing that this concept did was good. That's all just correlation, not causation. That's just humans are going to do that anyway. But the bad stuff, that is causation. That's not correlation. The bad stuff is causation. Well, okay, well, hold on. When you look at 65% of the Nobel Prize winners since 1901 being Christian, 21% being Jewish, 7% almost none being agnostic or atheist. My question to you is your worldview, is your view of countries of, we're talking hundreds of millions of people, are you actually saying that because this atheistic agnostic thing works for you, that you're gonna just blast it out to the 350 million other people that are living otherwise peaceful, happy, progressive lives? Nothing else has weathered more progressivism than Christianity, Judaism, and Buddhism. And the idea that you want to do away with a system that's created more prosperity, peace, wealth, happiness, and has embraced more progressive ideas than anything else in history because you're a smug atheist on the internet that can prove the biblical flood didn't happen is fucking obnoxious in my opinion. And I would like you to rethink your opinions. Thanks.
Okay, well, I'm not going to dignify that with an answer because that was incredibly rude.
Can I respond for him?
No. Hey, everybody, hang on a second. When Jim leaves, just so you know, make sure to go follow him on Twitter. I'm about to post the link in the live chat. It's if you're already on the app, it's the Jim Majors, but I'm posting it right now. So Jim's Twitter profile, and I think you also have a Facebook page, right, Jim?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's just Jim Majors.
Right, following you now, Jim.
Thanks, Brenda.
All right, so that's in the chat, folks. And Nicholas, were you saying you wanted to ask a syllogism to Jim before he leaves?
Yeah, I wanted to pitch you a syllogism on the flood. There's no time to debate it, of course, but just to say what you think of it real quick. So start with the Kalam. God is real. Jesus is obviously God. The scriptures are true. Global flood happened.
Okay. Some of those prepositions require justification, I'd say.
Well, I figured you'd think that much.
Yeah, but it's definitely something to consider. If you want to talk about it, you can message me or whatever.
Yeah, maybe I'll flesh it out or something. I haven't fleshed it out yet. Just whipped it up today.
Nicholas,
yeah, it'd be fun to walk through.
Nicholas, do you think that the local flood is incompatible with the Bible?
It's possibly compatible, but it's just based on the text. It's really far fetched. The text is really wait, Praise, no, we're not talking over each other. What?
Praise was having a conversation with somebody else, and
oh, okay. Because Praise is passionate about this topic, so I thought he was interrupting me, but not the case. Yeah. So, but I think it's in the text. It's you have to really strain really bad to get that out of the text. The text is really obviously trying to say that it was the whole world, the whole planet.
Do you think that's true, Jim?
What, that the whole planet? That it's talking about the whole planet?
No, whether or not a local flood can be brought into, I don't know what they call it, but is compatible with readings of the Bible.
No, definitely not. Just for one verse in particular that says that it was 22 feet over the highest mountain. I mean, even if we're looking at the highest mountain in the Middle East, I mean, we're still. Well, no, it says that he flooded the face of all the world, of all the land, and I mean, you can't just have water higher than the highest mountain and it be there, for a year, almost a year before it starts to recede.
Well, the works that I've read about this say, those phrases are just, and especially in the language that they used, should be interpreted as all the land being everything that we know about. Our world is this world. We don't know about China. We don't know about the Americas. So
Sure.
it would be compatible, wouldn't it be still be the I've heard of professors who say that the language is compatible with a sort of a believing that all simply means our local area. But I don't know if that's true.
It can be compatible, but not in a literalist interpretation.
Okay.
Sorry, just real quick. The Hebrew word haaretz is what's used in the Hebrew Bible, and haaretz means literally the dirt, and it refers to all of the dirt.
All the land.
And just so you know, Joshua, it was tough to hear you. So you could be louder in the future.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I'm going to head out, guys. Logical, probable, blah, 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 beautiful, kissable, whatever your name is. Thanks for having me on. Good talking to everybody.
Nice to meet you, Jim. Thanks for debating.
Nice meeting y'all as well.
Good talking and good job.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jim. Appreciate it very much. And everybody, I posted the link to Jim's Twitter in the live chat. It's coming up again if you want to follow him. And we now have got 2 slots available in the stream if you want to come on. So I'm about to post the link to join the stream in the chat. It's also in the description for anyone that wants to come in. I think that Ogre343 has been being very patient and quiet. So anything you want to add to the discussion?
I wanted to ask Jim a couple questions, but I can do that on his own time. I guess the thing I would like to add is just wanted to, again, throw props to the mod for trying to keep that going the best it is. Praise I am that I am. You try to do a good job chopping it down. That can be tough. And then my questions for Jim, I'll just direct to him next time I get the opportunity.
Gotcha. Yeah, sorry about that. I got everybody was talking. I kept realizing, man, you were being very, very patient, and then Jim had to bounce. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Again, folks, there's 2 slots open in the stream if you want to come join. I think, let's see who else has been being quiet in here. Praise I am that I am. Are you still there? Or are you off playing Xbox? Now, Nick, when he was talking over, he said something about getting an Xbox game. And I think he may be off doing that. So what? I guess we'll kind of turn this over to a little bit more back and forth dialogue until somebody new comes into the stream to share their thoughts. So I'm guessing Amy probably wants to bring something into the debate. So I'll let you take the next stab at where we go in the discussion.
Thank you. And I wanted to talk about, let's see, I have notes. One thing was like the incest part. I want to go back to that because I want to know how, and maybe there's a good Christian apologetic for this, how do you get the world populated after Noah without incest? Anybody?
By today's standard, I think we would call that incest.
I'm not. And incest is
It
not
would be
for or
cousins.
against theism.
Well, it'd be cousins. I think would be as bad as it was, and then from then on, it would be less and less. So it's not really extreme or anything.
I'm not saying extreme, but it seems.
I'm not from
your
this perspective, but isn't the classic argument that the Lord somehow made the genetics so that there wasn't an issue? Isn't that the classic go-to for that?
Maybe.
Oh yeah, there's that one too. I was addressing the other. She said without incest, so I was addressing without incest.
I had a question as well when she's over.
Well,
And-
incest is related, especially when the daughters get Noah drunk. I mean, they have incestuous relations with him.
Well, that was someone else, right? That was Lot. Yeah. Lot.
And I just
No, it
had
was Noah.
It was the sons that did it, Don.
No, there's a different story with Noah getting drunk, but the daughter's one is Lot. So Noah was seen,
Buck naked.
or no, his nakedness was revealed, which is said to be a euphemism for that one of them with his wife.
Don't they lay with him in order to have children?
No,
No, that's Lot.
that was Lot's.
No, with Noah. I
no.
thought the daughters took advantage of Noah when he was drunk in order to have children.
No, that was Lot.
Well, someone pull out the Bible and check this.
All right. Well, while we're doing
If I may,
hang on. Now we have Chris Keith has entered the stream, so he gets next word. What's up, man? How you doing? And I know you were off watching some town halls and such, but what are your thoughts about what's going on in the discussion we're having here?
Yeah, I was waiting for the overview to be done there. Thank you for having me. I was just looking in the chat a little while ago. So I think Andrew was saying that it's a bad idea to argue the flood. Which, I mean, if you're going to do it, I mean, as far as like when your arguments, in your toolkit, it's probably not the one I would go to. But the Bible does say that in the latter days, be ignorant to the heavens were of old, and I forgot the exact verse, but basically ignorant to the flood. So it's important to believe the word of God. So that's where the importance would lie at for me.
Can I jump into my question?
Sure.
All right. I have never heard before that Noah didn't know the wine would be alcoholic. Where did he get that idea from? He said there was a secret verse. They never said it.
Oh yeah, that was really pretty bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Noah just got himself drunk. He was flawed. He was not Jesus.
Yeah, I'm not saying okay, so if that's just his thing and that's some like edge of Christianity I'm unaware of, but I don't know why Noah would plant a vineyard just to drink grape juice, right? So, all right, that was what I was wondering.
when life gives you grapes.
If I may, I'd like to point out. So Amy attempted a gotcha. It was very, very clear, right? It explained to me how humanity was repopulated and it wasn't incest. It's interesting because this is the spirit of atheist arguments, right? It's like, well, okay, let's picture a world where you're on a deserted island and you have to be a cannibal to survive. It's kind of like, well, what if you eat your brother because a raccoon got your lunch and you were hungry, so you bludgeoned your brother to death and ate him. These are obviously that's not the same as cannibalism in the case of necessity. But what these arguments are framed to do is to expose the Christian as some kind of like.
But this is his argument.
Dumb dullard, even though they're not. It's essentially trying to use rhetorical tricks to make them doubt themselves. It's very, very insidious. It's just.
I agree. That's what he was doing.
You're attributing motives that aren't there. It's just curiosity.
It's pure curiosity.
Yeah.
Right, Brenda. Yeah.
Yes,
Listen,
is.
I wasn't born yesterday. I wasn't born yesterday.
Can you prove that?
Yeah. Thanks.
No, but the question is, how many humans were alive on Earth when the flood was over?
It's an awesome question. I love it. Can you type it into Google and press enter and then maybe get back to us?
Well,
But
I
you
have you
pretended
here.
I was watching you. I was just telling you why he made a shitty point. That was his point. You're now debunking his point and telling you why theists like him are.
I'm not debunking anything. I'm not debunking anything.
You're agreeing with me, right?
The spirit of atheists who antagonize Christians is not one of curiosity. It's one of, I know how to press your buttons. I know how to poke holes in what you believe your faith to be, and I'm going to do it because I have nothing better to do than to antagonize and harass you.
Can I defend that position?
Yeah.
So as an anti-theist, because I'm not just an atheist, as someone who thinks
AKA a demon. Okay, go ahead.
A demon? What are you, edgy? No, I'm just kidding. Demons don't exist. But as someone who is a anti-theist, I think there is a lot of good that can come to Western society and humanity as a whole by getting rid of one of our main superstitions, which is theism.
Oh, what's your evidence for that?
I'm in the thing. My evidence for that is, generally speaking, there's no evidence for theism, and so you shouldn't believe things until we have evidence for
Okay, wait.
them.
I'm gonna try
Let's
to
get in
write
the
that down.
superstition.
I'm gonna try to write that down. My evidence for that is
Let's
that.
start-
Wait, can you just repeat? I need to write that down. It's actually one of the
So
most
let's
brilliant
start with
quotes of the
this.
21st century.
That's hilarious.
I need you to read.
Mike
I need you
Winger
to
actually addressed this
word for
today.
word. I need to hear that again. I'm gonna write it down and
We
embed
should
it
not
in stone.
believe things that do not have evidence.
Things that do not have evidence.
Because once we do, it gives us permission to believe anything.
Because once we do, it gives
Yeah,
us
that's
permission
just
to believe.
general.
I like this.
And
I hope you're
belief-
actually writing this down.
Oh, I
That's
am.
Yeah.
better.
I'm gonna
That
engrave
sounds
it.
like
generally
fake writing. I
try
don't
to
think
make
he actually wrote it.
try to avoid
so
belief
we're gonna have
without
we're gonna have a brief timeout, folks, on all this. So real quick, we're just gonna clarify the whole Lot Noah thing.
Yes, please.
And, first off, so here we're just gonna. It's Lot, by the way. We're just gonna go ahead and read that whole portion. This is Genesis 19. And one second, I'm gonna zoom in here. Let me know if that's big enough for y'all.
Oh, that's plenty big.
That is not resizing properly. Damn it. Okay. Well, close enough. Okay. So it says, now Lot went up out of yada yada yada, and the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come into us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine. We will lie with him, that we may preserve offspring from our father." So they made their father drink wine that night. The firstborn went in and lay with their father, yada, yada, yada. And then the next day, the firstborn said to the younger, "Behold, I lay last night with father. Let's get him drunk." I'm just paraphrase here faster. Let's have him drink again, get drunk. Then you go in and screw him, and then we'll both have kids from our dad. That's basically what that boils down to. And then in the context of Noah, real quick.
9:23.
Well,
Yeah,
with
I
Noah,
got-
it was.
I got it pulled up here. Okay, so now Noah. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk, and lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. And that's basically it. Then it's, "Cursed be Canaan, servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." There is absolutely nothing about Noah screwing.
Cool. That works for me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to know. I was
really
obviously
quickly-
confusing the two.
Yeah, sorry. Just wanted to clarify that real
From a
quick. So, okay, now I'll let you
hypothesis-
guys go back to your discussion. I just want to clarify that real quick. Go ahead.
Of course, but then the question arises, since there was Noah, his 3 sons, and their wives, and that couldn't have repopulated the earth.
This is so pathetic, man. This is so fucking pathetic to me. I don't know.
Well, the math on this has actually been done quite a bit. It's the mathematically, it's totally possible. It is not.
This
No,
is
no,
your
it's
life's
not.
work, Brenda.
It's not
not-
biologically possible because they would have
Yes.
died out. A population that small will just the inbreeding they'll just die out.
Well, no.
No, of course not. What?
Why not?
It's anyway. This has been studied.
LPP, do you have a source you could send them? Or
I'll be
The burden of proof is on you when you say they would have died out. Like, that's obviously
Okay.
ridiculous.
Okay.
Well,
Well, then my claim then is that
no, hang on. No, per the logic that you're trying to argue, then evolution is also not true.
I'm not arguing.
No. What I'm saying is, if you're saying they would have died out just because it was it had been a bottleneck, then the exact same issue applies to evolutionary theory. Therefore, if you're going to claim that is a problem, then how are we having this conversation right now? because there's multiple bottlenecks.
Mitochondrial Eve is one of 10.
Evolution
not
doesn't
one of
claim
one.
that all life on Earth came from 8 people.
Well, it claims it came from a single organism, so that's a bottleneck of 0.
No.
In the
That's not the claim.
okay, no. Genetically, we've been tracked back to a mitochondrial Eve and a Y chromosome Adam. That is a fact. So
no,
if you want to make that argument,
that's not the evolutionary argument for the origin of species or all life on Earth. That just goes back to mitochondrial Eve.
how do humans exist over millions of years if at some point there was a micro number of humans?
Well, there wasn't.
Now equal billions.
Yeah,
if you're going to make the argument
I
that
can
you
answer
can't
that.
have a small bottleneck without us dying out, which was the point that you made.
Yeah.
Then how do we exist?
Because we were never a small bottleneck. Humans evolved from population of the precursor species. There's populations. That's how evolution works. Evolution is a result of populations, not individuals. It's
okay, so you do realize that population genetics has like so many problems. You got neutral theory, drift, all those things that cause major. Anyway, this is not. We're not going to have this discussion right this second. Right now, we're discussing this whole the debate for this evening. We can have that.
Well, sure. I can sum it. I can sum it up.
Okay, so you're done for now. Tony just joined. What's up, man? How you doing?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I know you've been trying to come in and out and been dropping off, man. What's up?
I don't know. Internet's crazy. What's going on? What are we talking about?
Having a little after show from the debate over on MDD between Mr. Batman and Jim Majors on the flood.
Oh, okay. I missed it.
Oh, you did? Okay. So what are your, you got any thoughts you want to share?
Whatever we're discussing. I mean, the atheists want to give me their best argument for how the universe got here. We can, I don't know, maybe start with that.
We don't know.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's see, Sunflower, man, you're up. I think or actually, Joshua, you've been being very quiet. You got anything you want to bring in? Then Sunflower will go to you.
Well, I would really like to talk about the documentary hypothesis when it comes to reading the flood as a Christian theist, that you don't have to read it literally. I think I'm the only person in this room as a Christian theist that reads it non-literally.
Yeah, we know that, Leo. You don't have an answer either.
All right. Well, I got another question for Amy, Mrs. We shouldn't believe in superstitions because they're harmful. Okay, I'm going to read to you an important sentence, and maybe you don't regard it as important, but I think I do. It says, quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Do you think the notion that all men are created equal is a superstition? Yes or no?
I know all people aren't created equal because
answer the question.
I know people aren't created. I know people aren't created equal. I think that's just trying to be fluffy. I mean, it's poetic language. I think that we should try.
Did that superstition then lead to more prosperity, equality, peace, wealth? Looks like you're in a bit of a tricky sticky situation
what happened
here, Amy.
is they were like this. Here's how I think it happened.
You're cornered now.
All men should
don't get flustered. Don't get flustered.
Be free.
Don't get flustered.
Isn't that right, Slavey?
Oh, right. That's a great argument. Well, meanwhile,
have rights. Now, bitch, get over here so I can have sex.
This is your best, debater here. Oh, well, yeah, they had slavery still. Well, go to China. Go look what's going on there. Yeah, good one, Amy. Really.
China. First of all, how do we get to China? My context is that I like what the founders were doing, and they still were doing things that weren't right.
Oh, perfect. Has there ever been
a perfect human
being? Has there ever been a society that more quickly overturned and fought their own abhorrent practices than modern America. Honestly, are you jerking off? That's weird. That's
sounds like what you're doing
sexually
right now.
suggestive. That's sexually suggestive. Why are you introducing that to this extreme?
Hang on, y'all.
That's very strange and disgusting.
Hang on, everybody.
Leo, why don't you come in, Leo? We'll talk about abiogenesis. You got all the answers, right?
All right,
founders.
All right, hang on, y'all. So the level of historic ignorance of people who argue about the founders and slavery just continues to annoy me. It is well documented that literally in multiple aspects, both the Articles of Confederation as well as the Constitutional Convention, there was dramatic discussion about the evils of slavery and the need to remove it. However, they compromised in order to form the United States. So if you're going to argue that even though there were direct arguments about the need to do away with it, but then people compromise in order to form the country itself, it's like, okay, we can not have the country, or we can do away with something that at the time was accepted. And then to look back on that
Non-answer from Amy.
From the modern perspective, and then be like, oh well, nothing good came out of it. It's stunning ignorance. It's stunning ignorance. I'm not saying about you, Amy. I'm talking about, I hear this talking point all the time from historic idiots, and it's very obnoxious. But all that said, we have a new.
Well, wait. Can I really quickly?
Very quick.
Okay, Amy. Even if the American iteration of the principle that all men are created equal, even if the American iteration was flawed, do you not currently hold that position yourself? And is the current position that you hold, that people deserve equal rights, is that not a superstition? Is it the fact that they're not created equal in some
equal rights under the law?
That's superstitious.
We should try to have equal rights under the law. That doesn't mean that all men are created equal.
Are we created with an inherent God-given right? No. My question is, not we should, are we created with the God-given right to those? No. Okay. Well then, good luck with you will be part of civilization and humanity collapsing because you don't believe
that for 2,000
in a quote unquote superstition when it's really not one. It's just the truth. That everyone with a soul knows. Everyone with a soul and a conscience knows that their existence is holy, spiritual, and sacred. And you are literally
none of those things.
That's an appeal to popularity.
No. You are appealing to a disgusting,
I'm also not a moral relativist.
No, it's relativist.
That's appealing.
So why? No.
It's like Jerry Springer.
Jerry. Hey, we'll come back to all this in a second.
Can I just wrap up?
But we'll come back to this. We can come back to some of this madness. All right, Joel has entered the after show. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Billy
Pretty
Joel.
good, man. Finished talking to Tangelo. I'm eating a barbecue chicken sandwich. And I love y'all's conversation already.
Well, we like to have some entertaining dialogues over here once in a while. Get some crazy after shows. Posts.
Anybody trying to kill anybody yet? I wanted to ask if since you're talking about the flood stuff, has anybody brought up ringwoodite yet?
I don't think so.
Brought up what?
What?
Ringwoodite. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Is that a
it's a
geology
recent
thing?
discovery. Yeah, basically, God answered Aaron's prayer, I guess, for lack thereof, where he said that for the flood for the waters to encircle the earth and cover the mountains, you need 3 times more water than it's in the oceans right now. Well, some geniuses down in California, they got about 2,000 seismometers. You can Google this if you guys are not want to just listen to me blabber about it. But basically, they used sonar to find out that there's this solid water, basically this mass, and it's called ringwoodite. I don't know why they call it that, but it's a non-hydrogenous water ionized whatever substance stuff that's trapped below the mantle. That just so happens to be 3 times more water than what's in the oceans above.
How do you spell that?
Just like it sounds, ring, wood, and then ITE, ringwoodite. All kinds of research they've recreated in the lab. They've compressed it, decompressed it. They found natural diamonds that have ringwoodite water trapped inside of them. all kinds of cool stuff about it. And it, I mean, it's a wonderful debate still, but it's empirical scientific evidence that there is 3 times more water under the ground that can seep out. And in fact, the one article I like to promote often, the researcher flat says that if this reservoir was not under the earth and it was above the mantle on top of up on top of the planet, it would literally cover the mountains.
So your argument is this ringwoodite is the water that receded back that went into this ringwoodite?
Very scientifically plausible, yes, sir.
Well,
Wikipedia. You're basing that. Sorry.
Wikipedia says that ringwoodite is a crystal and it contains 2.6% water.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so it's not
look
liquid
how much
water.
there is of it. There's a ton of it.
If I can continue on Wikipedia, it does say.
Wikipedia sucks. Why don't you go find an actual science?
Well, no, I found the same. I found the information though. I just got to put my eyes on it again. Okay, combined with evidence of its occurrence deep in the Earth's mantle, this suggests that there is from 1 to 3 times the world's ocean equivalent of water in the mantle transition zone.
Yep.
And the exact middle of that would be 2 times 2 plus the one that's already here. That would be the 3.
Yeah, but it's bound up in a solid. It's inside of a crystal. It's bound up inside of it. It's part of the chemical structure.
If I may say, water sinks beneath the earth, and so it makes sense that it sinks beneath the ocean also.
It's not liquid water.
Well, it can. They call it seeping. It can seep back up, and there's a lot of assumptions out there that the old theory that the current water on the Earth, they may have came from ice comets, millions and billions and trillions of years ago. Now they're speculating whether or not it actually came from this ringwoodite reservoir instead of comets.
It's not a reservoir. It's not liquid water.
Other scientists, that's exactly the word they use.
No, it's not.
Well, go talk to the scientist about it. I don't care.
Well, the Wikipedia says it's a crystal.
Okay,
Wikipedia?
Okay,
you're appealing to authorities, Wikipedia? What?
Okay, so one of the point which you're bringing up about the water being brought to Earth by comets and such. You are 100% correct that there are many that are starting to question that the plausibility of that. Number one, but secondarily, something that people don't really think about very often is creating water is not actually that easy.
Right.
And especially when you don't have an atmosphere.
Right. It requires significant pressure, heat, all these different things. So actually, and the ringwoodite discovery actually lends additional plausibility to all of this, which is, if it was forming under the mantle and heat, pressure, et cetera, that makes total sense, number one. And something that people, I think, oftentimes just forget, gloss over, or don't really comprehend is the reality that on the surface of the planet, we have 306 million cubic miles of water. 306 million.
Mm-hmm.
So when you contemplate the premise that the distance from the Earth to the Sun is 93 million, we have almost 3x the amount of miles of water between here, the Earth, the Sun. I mean, we have a ridiculous amount of water. And
that reminds me of the space station's pictures are beautiful about how thin the atmosphere really is.
Right. And so to me, when you really contemplate, okay, if there's even there's only 1x the amount of water that's on the surface that's in the ringwoodite, you're now talking about 600 million miles of water. Covering the surface of the planet is no longer that difficult of a.
Right. Well, so my inquiry on this subject, I get what you're saying about the water could have came from the ringwoodite, sure, could have squeezed out, right? That's essentially your argument, correct?
Or vice versa, yeah. I don't know anybody that.
Jim, your audio is super muffled, man.
Mic check one.
Still
talking about me or somebody else?
You were super muffled there for a second.
Dude, I'm on my cell phone, by the way, so I apologize. Is this better?
Yours is good.
Yeah, a lot better.
Yours is good. Right. Chris's was coming in rather poorly.
That's why I was doing a mic check. Sorry.
Chris's is now good.
Joel,
Sir.
I'm not. The LPP was saying that the water could have initially came from this crystalline structure that is at the mantle transition zone, right? Could have welled up, That's where we got a lot of water missing. I'm wondering how the water got back down there.
Right. That's what I was saying. Is that maybe it came up from there. Maybe it's the end result. I don't know.
Well,
But still.
how would it have gotten to the surface? I mean, it's 600 kilometers
Brenda,
below the surface
getting
of
to
the
the
Earth.
surface isn't as much of an issue as getting back down there and getting back.
Yeah, it would have torn the Earth apart. I mean, it's 600 miles below the crust. You just think it just magically.
Scripture does say that he opened the fountains of the deep, so it does fit Scripture.
Well, it's not a reservoir. It's not liquid water. It's inside of rocks.
Scientists call it a reservoir, and it doesn't have to be liquid.
The scientists call it a reservoir because it's the best definition for it. But it is stored there as a hydroxide ion. It's not stored there, as you say, as liquid water.
But it can be retrieved as water, as liquid water.
Yeah, you can take it out. You could reconstitute it, as LPP was saying. Yes, I agree with that. But how you get it? But the idea is that God. I'm asking here. I'm not trying to prove you wrong. God broke open, shoved the water down, and then
it was magic.
Crystallized it.
No, there's all kinds of plausible theories.
The water.
Maybe the water wasn't like before the flood. Maybe it was just another more shallow ocean. Maybe perhaps, and admit that the deeps of the springs of the deep, whatever you call it,
it's not liquid
these fissures
water.
opened up and injected into the atmosphere and caused the year-long rain or however long it was. And then when it settled back down, the extra weight of all of that, plus all of the sedimentary sifting of the entire planet that being underwater, allowed the overabundance of this water to seep past the mantle layer finally, and then solidify into what we see today. The fact is that we see it.
So it's
There's
magic.
water down there.
It's magic. It's a hydroxide. It magically dissociated from the hydroxide.
No,
and then it
not at all. Again, it
magically
recreated the magic, as you call it, in the lab.
And
so,
then it magically transported itself into the
No,
atmosphere.
it did it through what's called
then
science.
Then it rained down, and then it magically transported itself
If you
600
want to call
kilometers.
science magic, by all means, enjoy.
And then it just magically.
The more
it just
interesting
did this
conversation
magic.
is how the hell are we going to mine it? We're going to try to get it so we can end drought.
It's 600 kilometers below the Earth. We're not going to mine it.
Yes, that's limited thinking. I hate to tell you.
That's pretty accurate. That 600 kilometers is.
We'll figure it out. That's what I'm saying. I'm a scientist. Okay, guys.
Or whatever.
I'm paid to figure out things crazy like that.
All right. So what is your what is the drill bit that's going to get down to 600 kilometers?
We have to invent it. That's what science does, man. You never limit your thinking.
It's not going to happen.
Anything can happen.
No, anything
Say we couldn't go to the moon.
Okay,
now we're looking at colonizing Mars in 2 years.
Look, guys.
I'd like to offer a different hermeneutic if we have a minute when we're done with like the literal stuff.
1 second, y'all. So in the context of like inventing cool things and how we're going to get stuff like this out, theoretically. Yeah. So, for example, we are currently, and it's been being tested for like a year and a half now. They are on the macro level testing gigantic microwave cannons being used to extract oil by changing the pressure and anyway. So the point is that where is the oil, right? It is oftentimes in similar states as to not exactly now, but similar states to what we're talking about with the water.
I have to disagree with you on that one, LPP.
Yeah, it's in shale form.
I said not directly analogous. I'm talking about different states.
All right.
The point I'm making is that if you, again, I'm using it as an example of things that can be invented. I doubt that 100 years ago anybody thought that, holy crap, if we build a gigantic microwave cannon, we could use it to extract oil or to cause oil to come to the surface. Is my point, and I'm just correlating with what Joel was saying of like we have to go invent it. Is the point that I'm making. And so I'm not here to argue.
I gotta bounce out real quick.
Go ahead.
So if you let me get a quick last part on this, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
The deepest hole we've ever dug, the Kola Super Deep, went down 12 kilometers.
That's irrelevant.
So I'm just saying they had to stop that because the pressure and the heat were too long and the balls are too big. Okay. Is it possible in hypothetical land? Sure. But you're talking a real big jump. And I hope by the time we get that deep of a hole, we've maybe solved the water crisis in a much simpler solution. Because you're talking huge jump.
Sure. And as another correlation,
12 to 500.
The United States Space Program, NASA, was spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year on a space shuttle program that ultimately failed. And they had to just mothball the whole damn thing. had to start basically hiring Russia to help, go what just the space station, much less any plans to go do anything else. And then this entrepreneurial comes out of nowhere almost, and for less than $100 billion total, now has helped develop the rocket system that can get us to Pluto today if we want.
I think that's an oversimplification, but
No,
Yeah,
hey,
well,
thanks
maybe,
for
that
bringing
but
really
up
still,
is.
Mary's
Because
point.
what
you either
actually
limit your
happened,
thinking
Take
or you
care.
don't.
Bye. Thanks, LPP, for letting me in.
Hey, you're welcome, man. You have a good one. You're welcome back anytime. Appreciate you being
yeah, what actually happened
clear
is that
thinking.
what actually
And
happened is that the government.
Good night.
okay, Brenda. It's Joshua. You were saying you wanted to bring up a different, slightly different topic, right?
Well, it's not slightly different. It's just a different interpretation. I've heard a lot of arguments about the literal interpretation of the flood narrative, but I haven't heard anything that accords with a more academic interpretation of the flood narrative. The academic interpretation takes into account the ancient Near Eastern mythology on which the flood narrative is based. If we look at the Enuma Elish, right, there's a creation account. If we consider ancient Near Eastern cosmology that has, trying really hard to avoid any kind of flat earth garbage, the ancient Near Eastern cosmology has water underneath, and then dry ground, and then the rakia, which is this domed surface, and above that is water. In Canaanitic religion, Baal was the storm god. He was the chief god. And Baal's power was wind. In the Enuma Elish, the waters above start to flow through the Rakia, into the bubble in which we live, threatening the existence of all creation. And Tiamat, the storm god, is defeated by Baal when he blows a mighty wind and essentially reinflates the dome that we live in. Okay, the flood narrative that's in the Bible, in my mind, was an attempt to take this cosmology that has water everywhere, and we live inside of this airy bubble with water all around us. And the Israelites said, we grew up, we knew that Baal, the storm god, reinflated the dome and allowed us to live here. We don't believe in Baal anymore. We believe in whatever the name of the Israelite god, want to call it. So how can we take this narrative that we're familiar with from the Enuma Elish and from Atrahasis, Utnapishtim, and couch that within our monotheistic understanding of the world around us? And so the Israelites took the narrative of Utnapishtim and Atrahasis and said, okay, in those stories, the gods decided to flood the earth. We only have one God. That God decided to flood the earth, and our God stepped in and saved the earth. So in ancient Canaanitic cosmology, the flood narrative is not a story of God threatening to destroy creation. It's actually a story of God defeating chaos and allowing creation to exist. In the biblical narrative, we have Canaanitic priests who have graduated into Israelite priests trying to tell that same story within their monotheistic religion. And we end up with several different narratives that all get redacted into the Pentateuch that we have today, that tells a story. When you read it today, it's confusing and it doesn't comport even with itself. But the point is that the flood narrative, when you try to take it literally, makes God out to be this crazy, irrational being that on a whim decides to destroy all of creation. But when you understand it within its context, we can understand it as sort of a misguided reinterpretation of stories that people grew up with trying to say, no, 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 this is God saving us, not God trying to destroy us. I understand that that's not the typical literalist interpretation, but I don't think the literal interpretation makes any sense. As a Christian theist myself, I just want to say that there is an interpretation of the scripture that does make sense if you stop this asinine requirement to interpret it literally. And if you do want to interpret it literally, Bible itself is going to give you trouble, because how many animals did Noah take on the ark? 2 of each kind or 7 of the clean animals? It says both.
Well, I'll let other people discuss that. I mean, in the context of
Sorry, I have a lot of thoughts. I'm trying to get a lot of different things
in terms
out
of
at
the
once.
2
I've never
versus
really
7. I mean,
talked on YouTube before, so I'm
no, you're good, man.
new at this.
I mean, directly in context of the 2 versus 7. I mean, I'm pretty sure that what is clean and in terms of the 7, the ones that are delineated 7, I mean, that's rather clearly delineated in other portions. So I mean, I'm assuming that I don't really have a problem with that portion of it. I mean, that argument is, I mean, just to be blunt, that was rather naive.
Can anyone hear me at all?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Yeah, we heard you. Just Logic is talking now.
So anyway, where I'm going with all that is like that particular portion of it.
I don't know if I broke YouTube or if anybody who has a literal interpretation of the Bible has a reaction to the
I don't even know.
Joshua, can you hear us?
the ancient Near Eastern cosmology.
You might not be able to hear us, guys.
Oh, do you see our bubbles popping up, Josh? Because even if you don't hear us, you can see that we're talking.
Yeah, well, I'll put it in.
Now Josh is on mute. So.
Yeah, I put it on mute.
Oh.
Josh, if you can hear me, I'm going to put it in the private chat too. Why don't you drop out and then come back? Because I think something's going on with your audio.
What's happened on the other channel?
I can't hear anything. I don't know if anyone's talking.
This happened. This is what happened to me at the very beginning of the stream. I wasn't able to hear everybody, and you guys could hear me. It's very weird.
You can just kick him out. I think he'll get the idea to try to come back. You can.
I just put it in chat for him to do that. Okay.
It's not unique to your channel either, LPP.
Yeah, something weird's going on with YouTube. Like it's been getting pausing out, screens going black. It's very strange. And I thought I was the only one having this. Apparently, it's happening to other people too.
Oh, sorry. I think it's processing entropy.
There's just a lot of people. There's just a lot of people using it, I think.
Well, that could be a possibility. All right, so James W. has joined the stream. James, what's up, man? I know you were watching the debate. What were your thoughts? Any ideas you want to bring to the conversation, or just thoughts you want to share?
Well, hey, Maddox. One thing I wanted to bring up that I don't really hear anybody talk about is, Christians today, most people who are Christians today, it's been in their family for some generations mostly, and we've never really seen anything necessarily magical or divine, but yet the faith endures through generations. But when you look back at the flood, so you literally have to think that all these people who believed in Yahweh, the God of the Bible, they got off the ark, and then almost immediately you see all these different religions start to pop up elsewhere. These are people who would have seen the flood, who their parents would have seen the flood. But what did they do? They immediately went to Egypt and started building pyramids to these other gods, started inventing all these other religious systems all over the world. It really doesn't make sense to me why that would happen if 8 people who believed in the God of the Bible all got off the ark. Why would that happen?
Because it wasn't just 8 people.
Well, that was kind of contradictory because you said that all the people would have experienced the flood, but only 8 of them would have.
Right, but their parents would have. I mean, there would be people alive who would have said, no, this God is really real. He really did flood the whole world. He killed everybody. That's why there's only a few of us left.
Well, there's people alive saying that to you right now.
Are you guys familiar with the Human Genomes Project, the human gene trace, the global gene trace they did recently? Hello?
I know
I
the
haven't heard about
Genome
it.
Project.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you. Are you referring to the like tracking back the like back to the mitochondrial
No. Well,
groups?
partially.
The different groupings.
Not necessarily. It's more of a geological or geolocation. It was where they basically did the it's like a genetic family trait thing, and they got all the different DNA. Basically where you can map where somebody is from, almost down to like within like a square a kilometer. Essentially, it's so crazy. And so they basically reversed all of that to watch where the origins of all the families and generations around the world came from. And you can actually, I don't know how to Google it. It's 15 something, but they've got a wonderful map of it. And it basically shows where the first mass migration of whatever ancient humans there were started around, East Africa, more specifically around the Sudan.
Ethiopia, right? Ethiopia.
Well, Sudan more specifically, but yeah, that general area, right?
That general
And I
area.
don't know how accurate that pinpoint location is, but
Sure.
point is that there's a single point of origin, and so from there, humanity expanded everywhere: Europe, Asia, even across the Bering Strait to North America. They've got wonderful little cute little lines, even Australia, where humanity migrated all from Africa.
Well,
So
those first people
we're all technically.
Those first people weren't really humans. They were.
According to the Human Genome Project, they are.
No, they
But
weren't.
the point was is that that's where all humanity came from, as a single point of origin, and so these flood stories, the multiple religious flood stories that we have, makes perfect sense if the original parents, or those first couples, whatever you call them, shared that with their children and their grandchildren, and then they migrated to these other places, and just like telephone, the word of mouth, the legends just grew crazier and crazier, especially for despots, that want to try to harshly rule over people. Of course, they're going to make them like Gilgamesh. He's going to make himself seem like he's God, and so that's where all these different diversions come from, and it makes perfect sense.
But if you're going to take on things like the human genome, doesn't that mean the flood had to have happened hundreds of thousands of years ago?
Not at all. In fact, that particular article I'm referring to from the genome.gov website suggests that there's all kinds of they don't necessarily get specific about how long ago they think that this genetic trace, but that particular project to just do the historical trace that ended in 6,000 years. And I don't know if they meant to publish that or not, but it's out there.
Human origins go back to 2.4 million years to Homo
Those are
habilis.
non-human. That's a assumption.
2.4 million years. Homo habilis.
Those are non-human.
I don't know what.
Right. That's the white supremacy version of Darwinian thinking that we're all just animal apes from other non-human.
No, that's
species.
not. That's just science. It's not white supremacy.
Nope. It's white supremacy. Darwin specifically said that his preferred civilized race of white people will exterminate and replace throughout the world the savage races of black people and gorillas.
That is true.
That's not evolution, though.
That's Darwinian evolution.
No,
it's not. It's Huxley Darwinian evolution.
No, it isn't. That's just his attitude.
You can invent your own version of evolution. That's great, and I respect
could you
that.
show me
That's what
where
Darwin
in
said.
the theory of evolution?
I don't think we're apes.
Could you show me?
That's not fair. You're creating your own version of evolution. That's not fair.
We're not evolution. We're talking about the flood story.
No.
So you strawman
that's not
however
evolution.
you
You're not correctly understanding evolution.
No, I do. I understand evolution. I just don't buy it. And that's again,
you
it's
don't
a
understand
it
because you're claiming that it's white supremacist. It's not. Darwin's attitudes were those typical of European white males for that time, which were very regressive, very much.
That's a pure lie, because that's at the same time when Wilberforce and others at that same exact moment of time were ending slavery.
Newton believed in alchemy, and his laws of physics still apply. It doesn't matter if you think that someone has bad views. If it's a fact is a fact, whether you like it or not.
I'm just destroying the straw man argument.
No,
the idea that
you're
people
doing
are
an
just
ad hom.
monkeys.
You're doing an ad hom.
That's non-human. We're not talking about non-humans. We're talking about humans.
Hold on. You're creating a straw man. When you say that we're just humans, that's a straw man. We're all apes. Yes. Well,
no, it's not. That's basic humanism.
No.
Well, that's a straw man. Once again, that's a straw man.
There may be a straw man to the argument of evolution, but I'm not arguing evolution.
You don't understand evolution.
That's fine if you want to think that you came from monkeys, but evolutionists or people who believe in science and biology, we know that we're part of the larger apes and that all monkeys right now are just as evolved as you are. And you think that you're above a monkey, but you're not. We're all...
That's anti-humanism. Thank you. Thank you for proving that evolution is white supremacy.
We're also all eukaryotes.
That's just delusional. You're just delusional.
Are we all
Evolution
eukaryotes?
violates human rights laws. We're not monkeys.
Okay, y'all, everybody
We're not monkeys, correct.
Everybody's calm down for a second. So,
We're not apes. We're humans.
We are apes.
We are created in the image of God, like the other gentleman was quoting from the...
John's saying to be quiet, guys. Come on.
hang on, everybody. So I have to get some clarification here. Did I just hear that monkeys, apes, chimps, whichever, insert whatever animal you want, are evolved to the equivalence?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
We're just worms.
All bacteria are all equally evolved 4.5 billion years. The bacteria are actually just as evolved as we are.
Right.
It's just that we don't view it that way because we value intelligence, even though nature doesn't really put intelligence that high.
Bacteria rights. Bacteria lives matter.
Okay,
There's no hierarchy.
Politically correct on me.
Bacteria evolving.
There's no
Look at the Lansky
hierarchy.
experiment.
There's no hierarchy in evolution. There's no hierarchy.
Okay, it's literally based on nested hierarchies. So
No,
that's
it's
just,
not.
Yes. Okay, I'm putting you on mute.
The whole
if you
phonology thing is all
if you
hierarchy.
take yourself off of mute, if you say another word, Brenda, until I stop talking, I'm kicking you out of the stream. Okay. Now, the premise that that nature does not give that much credence to intelligence. We literally rule the world.
And space.
Now, given the fact, and somebody needs to put back on mute because it's echoing. Who is not being able to do basic streaming here? Yeah. So bacteria are not going to the moon. They're not building a space station. They're not doing anything in the same stratosphere that we're talking about. I don't think there's any context in which anybody with an IQ above a freaking gerbil, which ironically has more of an IQ than a freaking bacteria, would ever think that bacteria are being able to have conversations literally globally as we're doing as we speak right now, and all the people that are engaged in this stream.
That's gerbilist.
You literally don't understand natural selection or evolution.
Actually, I do.
You literally don't. You have no
I agree with
clue.
Aristotle that natural selection is fake.
After that,
Aristotle disproved that 350 BC, man.
And Brenda, apparently there hasn't been enough natural selection to give you enough IQ points to be able to follow freaking instructions. So you're out. Good Lord. The interruption that always happens every time